Welcome back to Full Court Press. I am your host today, Bruno. I am joined by a special co-host and lawyer at Betts Law Company, my good friend Ian. And we are joined by a very special guest today, someone whose journey from Dallas, Texas to the global stage of collegiate athletics is nothing short of inspiring, a former college athlete turned coach who's since gone on to found an incredible company known as Green Room Futures, who are transforming the way international student athletes pursue higher education in the United States. They've helped nearly 6,000 aspiring student athletes so far, providing everything from college placement, application support, visa guidance, eligibility, U.S. college tours, and ongoing support, all through a commitment to going well beyond the paperwork, building lasting, genuine relationships with students and families. Let's dive into the mind of one of Australia's leaders in student athlete assistance, Matt Wade. Thanks for coming on, Matt.
Appreciate you guys having me.
Yeah.
Good to be here.
We are super excited to dive into it. Well, we might as well get into your story a little bit right away, I think. Can you tell us a little bit about your own college athletics experience, your background, how it shaped maybe your vision for helping others, helping students going forward?
Yeah. Well, I grew up in Dallas, playing soccer and baseball, and got to a point where I really got sick of baseball and broke my dad's heart, and stuck with soccer. And it's actually weird. I moved to a small Texas town in 8th grade, and like soccer, it was like an hour and a half commute each way. So I stopped doing that, and I started playing small town Texas high school football.
Yeah.
Right. Friday Night Lights, like the real deal. You know, a town of 6,000 people, but like you get 10,000 on a Friday night. Yeah. Both towns turn up and watch the high schools play. So it ended up getting pretty good at football, and having a soccer background and being in a small town, like I was the kicker and the punter. Right. And,
right,
and
of course,
like, did all the special teams as well. And I actually firstly got recruited to go and kick footballs at a school in Texas, and went and tried that out, and I didn't like it. And so then I just moved to Austin, and I wasn't playing sport, and pretty much partying in Austin, right?
Yeah, fair enough.
Pretty much what you do. And it's crazy that, you know, I could trace everything back to like one decision. Like everything I have today and everything that's come of it came from one decision, and that was to go and work at a summer camp in Maine, right? And I just found an ad for a summer camp job in the school paper, went and applied, and so did my buddy, and then we both got the job, him for basketball and me for water sports.
Awesome.
So I was, big into wakeboarding and all that stuff as well, right?
Yeah.
So for 2 summers in a row, we made that trip from Texas all the way to Maine, and like that was pretty awesome. But got to camp, and it was an all-boys sports camp, and so there was a guy that ran the soccer program who was like 2 years older than me, and I found out he was a college coach, and I'm like, light bulb.
Yeah.
I was like, how did that happen?
Yeah.
Right? Like teach me.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And he's like, well, I just took over a terrible program, so. And every night, like an international staff would go up to the soccer field and play, and he could see that I could play a bit, and he was like, "Why don't you come play for me?" And I'm like, "Yeah, all right."
Okay, yeah, so sweet.
So then he gave me some scholarship money, and I moved from Texas to Iowa, up near Chicago, and started playing college soccer, and did well for 3 years, and he was my coach for the first 2, and then he sort of stepped away. Took a job at a really good junior college program. Yeah. And he was like, look, I'm sorry I'm leaving you on your senior year, but like this is for the better, because once you finish up, just come and join my staff, right? Right. And so graduated, and kept playing a bit like semi-professionally in Des Moines, and was also he went onto the staff at Iowa Central Community College. Yeah. Number 1 junior college athletic program in the country, and we had a stacked team, and like that's where I started recruiting internationally.
That's awesome.
We had a first team and a reserve team, had 55 athletes in the program, and probably 26 countries represented. Handful of those kids were Australian kids. Yeah. And then I'd been in I'd been in Iowa for about 6.5 years, and I was sick of winter and just looking for something different. And I'm like, man, I had my whole college career and had just never traveled a lot of the U.S.
In the States, right?
Traveled a lot of the U.S., but hadn't traveled internationally. I think I want to go international. And the Aussie boys were like, oh, you should go to Australia. And I'm like, it's a great idea.
Yeah. Okay. Fantastic idea.
So I sold everything I owned and moved to Australia, man.
Wow.
But yeah, college was awesome. I was a center mid and played for a team. And the year before I got there, they went 1-16.
Yeah.
The first year that we were there and had some decent recruits, went 8-8.
Yeah.
And then went like 12-8, right? And then the last year, new coach came in and things kind of went pear shaped.
Yeah.
It was pretty average, but it served its purpose. It was like all conference
For sure.
Had recognition as a player, was captain, and did all that. And then, man, life just
awesome,
takes you
man.
places.
Yeah, so you kind of just like follow the progress. That's like easiest recruiting story I think I've ever heard. He was like, "Hey, come play for me," and you're like, "Yeah, okay."
Yeah, that's a great idea.
yeah, I'm in. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I get a scholarship. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Say no more.
Perfect. But yeah, man, it was just wild. Like, because the athletes that I recruited opened the door to Australia, and then the guy that I recruited him from, I was thinking about coming to Australia, and I hit him up, and I'm like, "Hey, any possibility for a job?" And he's like, "Nope." But hey, if you ever get to Australia, look me up, right?
Yeah.
And so I sold everything I owned and got a year working holiday visa, and I was in Australia like a month later, and I was like, "Hey, I'm here." And he's like,
So wait, you here in Australia?
"Yeah,
You're like, yeah.
would love to meet you."
I need a job.
Yeah. So, that's kind of the idea, man. Like, full send.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Just
no,
send it.
100%.
The worst thing that was going to happen was, I was going to have an awesome year and then go back and keep coaching. And, best case scenario, like here I am 14 years later.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I actually had a similar, not with sports, but I came over here from Canada for law school. My best friend at the time back in Canada, he said, "Oh, I'm applying to Uni Melb for something." He's like, "Why don't you throw an application there?" I was planning on going to law school. I said, "Sure, let's do it." We both got accepted. We're like, looks like we're moving to Australia for worst case 3-4 years, get an education, go home. And look at me 5 years later, still hanging around. So I get that.
I came here on exchange originally just for 1 semester, and I'm still here 8 years later.
Yeah.
So very similar.
There you go. Man, that is so cool. Yeah. So when you first got here, you started working for, is it IM 360?
Well, it was called NSR Australia.
Okay.
And it was a guy that, he had a professional career and played in Scotland and saw, there are a couple companies over there in the UK, First Point and some others that do US college recruitment. And sort of brought that idea back here. And because there was no, he needed some familiarity in the brand, and NSR stands for National Scouting Report. It's a big company that's been going on in the US. So he kind of bought a franchise tag with that, and then just built it just for soccer. That was his background, so it was NSR Australia for a handful of years. And one of the things that I did when I got to that company, I'm like, "Why are we just doing soccer?" And he was like, "What?"
Yeah.
I'm like, "Why aren't we doing every sport?" He's like, "Would that work?" And I'm like, "What do you mean would that work? It's the same process,
Right.
It's not us, you're not going to our college, right? It's the coach on the other side that determines that, and our job as consultants is to look at the quality of the athlete and figure out the best, the best fit based on their overall athleticism, right? So then it expanded into all sports, and then because he only had a license for soccer, like instead of having to pay licenses for all the different sports that we had, we just rebranded and it became IM 360.
That's awesome. Okay.
And then I was with them for about 9.5 years, and then
and then you jump into founding Green Room Futures,
doing my own thing now.
That's it.
This all sounds very smooth as a process, but I imagine there are hiccups and bumps in the road along the way.
Oh, there were plenty.
Yeah,
there were plenty. I'll just say that the owner of NSR, and I mean we're best friends at some times, and then like mortal enemies at other times, right? Like we just saw things very differently, and look, that kind of just ran its course.
Understandable.
But I mean, if I'm honest, like it has been pretty smooth. Like you deal with challenges and things, like personal and everything else, but yeah, like it's just kind of flowed, man. Like which kind of just the way I am. I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
in general, like I just kind of go with the flow.
It sounds like if I'm following your story correctly, it's
Yeah,
like,
man,
yeah, okay,
just-
opportunity comes, go get it, and then on to the next, right?
I feel like that's a trait of a Pisces, right? Just
Probably,
kind of like
probably.
go with the flow, man.
Probably.
Yeah, stick with what you love and what you know, and treat people well, and
Yeah.
you know, things will happen.
Man, that's awesome.
But yeah, just stayed true to myself and my interests and
Yeah.
abilities.
Yeah.
Here we are.
Yeah.
Would you say that's the most rewarding part? You're just keeping on what you're interested in?
Yeah, absolutely, man. Like I talk to so many kids all the time that are trying to plan their future, and I relate it back to my story, and I'm like, well, like, do you think at any point in time, right, when I was 15, 16, 17 years old, I was sitting there thinking, oh yeah, one day I'm going to live in Australia and run my own business.
Right, exactly.
That was never in the cards, man.
Yeah.
It just eventuated that way.
Man, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's
That
cool.
is awesome. Can you tell us a little bit about Green Room Futures as a company? I mean, I know we dove into the IM316 thing. I imagine it's quite similar, but yeah, maybe just tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, look, I think there's a lot of companies around the world that essentially claim, to assist students in the recruiting process for the U.S.
Yeah.
And in all honesty, like it's a terrible industry.
Yeah.
Right. It is full of sharks. It's full of people that prey on the aspirations of young people.
Yeah.
Tell people what they want to hear. Make a nice fancy website that has all the buzzwords and scholarship numbers and this and that to get people to pay a fee. And then once that fee is paid, it's non-refundable, irrespective of what a student gets or doesn't get.
Yeah.
And that is, I saw that firsthand as a coach. Most companies will follow a one-size-fits-all model, right? Where an athlete comes in, they get a profile, that profile goes onto a database, and then all these companies are very, very good at providing the perception of exposure.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
But what happens on the other side is that how they're providing exposure is by sending a link to a database of 3,500 students
Right.
to every coach in America,
Yeah.
and then sitting back and hoping that something sticks.
Yeah.
And that's sort of everything that I'm against.
No personal touch.
No, there's
Yeah.
no
Yeah.
personal aspect to anything, and that's where kids will end up with, because then on the other side you have coaches that can sign up to that service and then hit, yes, interested in 2026 athletes,
Yeah.
and then every kid in the database that's a 2026 athlete gets a mail merged email
Right,
that
right.
sounds personal.
Yeah.
When there's no personal touch to
Yeah.
that at all. And then-
Insert name.
yeah,
send.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And then the kid replies like all excited, and they're like, "Oh yeah, tell me about yourself." Oh, wait a minute. Well, didn't you say you were interested?
Yeah.
But then that the company provides a list of 40 schools that have said they're interested in recruiting athletes, and then ultimately they've provided exposure, and but then you have this international family that has. Then has to try and qualify these 40 schools that they know nothing
Right.
about.
What's this school mean for my kid?
Yeah,
What's
figure out
this
what
mean
it
for me?
costs. Figure
Exactly.
out,
Yeah.
and then it just gets them no closer to actually getting there.
Yeah.
And again, that's just clear cut where we're different.
Yeah.
So similar process in that we, you build an athlete profile but the difference is that doesn't go into a database. It's a standalone landing page. That's not even accessible. You can't search for it online. Like the only way that's going to gain traction is if it's being physically pushed out. And no two athletes are the same. It's like we don't take an approach where we're going to send information to 5,500 schools, because I know for a fact, knowing very little about even one particular kid right from the beginning, that you're not suitable for 5,500 schools.
100%.
Right.
I think what kid is suitable for 5,500 schools? You know what I mean? Like
Look, maybe there's a couple out there. But,
exactly right. Like a few athletic exceptions, but yeah.
Absolutely, right? But so it's okay. Well, why don't we, instead of just gathering all this information and putting it onto a profile and then, filing that away in a database, like let's first use the information.
Yeah.
Let's look at it. Let's evaluate it, and let's figure out, okay, well, of the 5,500 potential options out there, where should we actually be sending it?
Right.
And that's based on what the student wants,
Right.
and their own attributes and their own abilities and everything, right? So, how you kind of narrow those options is firstly based on what they want to study,
Yeah.
right? So where of those 5,500 schools, which schools offer what you want to study,
Yeah.
right? Then of those, which can you actually gain admission into with your grades,
Yeah.
right? So look at achievement, look at all those things.
Right.
and then of the schools that offer what you want to study that you can get into with your grades, which of those have your sport, not just have it, but are competing at standards that complement your abilities, which we see in their playing history and their video footage and all the things that we get from them. Then of the schools that you can get into that offer your sport at the right standards, which of those coaches are actually recruiting a left mid or a goalkeeper or a point guard or a 100-meter runner, right? In whatever year that they're looking to go, 2026 or 2027. So then you shrink those possibilities down to a much more workable number. And the most important factor of it all is like, okay, well, of all those schools, which of those can actually make it affordable for you and your family? Right. I don't shy away from the reality of higher education. It's going to cost here, and in any country, like it's an investment that you make. It's no different in the U.S., which is probably the most lucrative system of sport and education of any country in the world. So for international students, I mean that's the key determining factor. It's like take all that other stuff aside. Like what are you able and willing to spend on an annual basis to have this experience?
Absolutely.
So for us, we've got to, obviously do all those things and find the right programs, but make sure that of the ones that we're sending it to, those kids are getting scholarship, whether it be athletic, academic, grant money. It could be no scholarship, but like what's in our control is how we kind of steer the promotional ship towards opportunities that are going to tick all those boxes, but most importantly, be affordable for a family.
Right, 100%. I mean, you got to find the cultural, academic, personality, personal, all that fit as well, because they're student athletes at the end of the day.
Absolutely,
not athletes, right?
Right.
And that makes a huge difference.
Student athlete, student always before athlete. No pass, no play.
Exactly.
And if you take a kid that's not a strong student and you put them in an academic environment that doesn't work, well, then they fail classes and they can't play sport anyway.
Exactly.
They're on a plane home. So for us, like again, I think our promotional approach at Green Room Futures is it's incredibly personalized, right? And I think students and families, they feel that.
That's awesome.
The other thing, we're transparent. Like you look at the majority of companies out there, like go to their website and they say all these great things, but like, okay, well, what does it cost? They're secret. They don't list their costs. They don't list their services. They want to get kids, really invested in that process before they're like, oh yeah, it's going to cost you, $10,500. Or like, whereas like on our website, we've got our costs, we've got our services. You can see everything that we're providing. We can mix and match services to suit different people, but at the end of the day, like our service costs are listed openly for anybody to see.
Right.
And then I think most importantly, like there's not another company that I've been able to find anywhere in the world that provides a full money back guarantee for the work that you do.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Right. And that to me, especially in this industry, is like that makes us a unicorn. Right. Because if we fail to do our job in the way that we prepare you for, well, then that shouldn't be at your expense. If we don't meet your expectation, and you don't maximize your investment, well, then like we shouldn't benefit from that.
100%.
So it's our way of, I guess, like I said, providing confidence and helping to manage and protect those expectations and the investment of the student and the family, that this is going to result in real, genuine, complementary outcomes. That's kind of a bit that makes us.
No, that's incredible. I think that personal approach has probably played into your, I think what I understand to be 100% success rate in placing students.
Well, yeah, I don't start this process to be able to have to refund somebody.
Absolutely,
right? Like,
absolutely.
Right? It's a well-refined process that it works 100% of the time. Our job is to not bring in, in our vetting process of students, it's like, okay, well, if somebody comes to me and says, well, I want to go and play basketball at Duke. Say, okay, well, find the guy that can guarantee you that, right?
Yeah, because I can't guarantee you that.
No,
exactly.
You want to pay somebody that, then he's lying to your face because that's not his choice.
Exactly.
Somebody that guarantees you I need you to guarantee me a full scholarship. Well, I can't do that. It has to be people who I think understand how the process works. Their expectations with regard to their outcomes have to be, in line with like what we're seeing in the students. So in that evaluation process, like, and these are all like free calls that we have, 2 or 3 calls that we'll have with any student prior to hitting the go button and, starting the process is just to figure out, okay, well, do you understand, like, what sort of student are you? Like, what is it that you want from from this, like what would be your ultimate result? If you don't get the ultimate result, are you understanding that like there's going to be other good results out there? And then from a financial standpoint, can you afford it? And do you have an understanding of how the scholarship process works? And I think if we can tick all those boxes and we can agree on that,
you can say we can do something for you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
If it's on offer over there, right? So we have sport related pathways, but we also do general students. We do performing and visual arts. Like if what you want to do is possible, far out. If your expectations are right and budgets and all that sort of stuff is like let's go, let's do it.
Man, that's awesome. Do you have, with all this history, the success rate, do you have one placement story that's really stuck with you that maybe captures the impact of your work?
Oh,
that you could share with us.
Yeah, look, there's a lot of them, right? And I'll be sure to differentiate like a lot of, I spent 9.5 years working for another company, right? And I was the sort of the director of prospect management. So was fully involved in the placement and promotional process. Green Room Futures, like we're 4 years old, like this week.
Yeah.
Right. So we've defied the odds, right? We're still here.
100%.
But also prospering. But I think that's just a really good compliment to like all the great relationships that I was able to build over that 9.5 years working for the other company. And so like, a couple of the stories that I've got were athletes that were a part of that company.
Yeah.
A kid from Sydney, a kid named Mitch Osmond. He left Sydney and he was playing like senior football, soccer, at like 16, 17 years old, left that system and he played at like 2 different colleges in the US, played semi-professionally, and he got drafted in 2019 to Minnesota FC.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, and now he plays, he's in his like 5th year as a pro in USL Championship. Another kid from New Zealand, he was the first New Zealand schoolboy to be drafted into Major League Rugby. So that was pretty cool. We got a few golfers. Like we got one that he just qualified for the U.S. Open Championship.
Oh, really?
Yeah, as an amateur.
Oh, that's a big deal.
Yeah, based on what he did in collegiate golf.
Yeah.
So you've got those, but in all honesty, like it's to me, it's more about the kids that aren't at that level.
For sure.
And it's the majority that are not at that level, right?
Yeah.
Like I look at success in this as not going pro. If you're able to go pro and do that, well then, hey, that's more testament to the individual than it is to us. Like to like take a kid from Yapoon, right? Right, or like in the middle, like Wagga or out like Bathurst, like even like regional areas that are close to cities, like Bendigo or Sunny Coast,
and get them to the States.
Yeah, but like get them over to the States and just like watch a kid just transform their life, man.
Grow, blossom,
like just
right?
Absolutely.
Of
Just
course.
It's the day-to-day stories, right?
Yeah.
And it's not just getting them there and saying good luck, but offering that extended support so that from our perspective, it's like making sure that they maximize their entire experience, not just get you there and wish you well.
Yeah.
So it's man, I think it's just the day-to-day. Like there are very few careers out there, I think, where the work that you do on a daily basis can have such a profound impact on the lives of the people that you work with, and I feel blessed for that.
Absolutely. That's awesome.
Speaking more to that, I know the university/college system in the U.S. and just culture generally is very different from here.
Yeah.
And I imagine a lot of Australian, especially if they're teenagers, might just be completely unaware of what college would fit them. Everyone has their own personality. Some might not suit the college, even though it might be a good sporting fit. And so how do you, from here all the way across the world, try to ensure that they will be a good cultural fit for their just day-to-day lives outside of the sport?
Well, look, in that promotional process, right? Like you got to look at, the socioeconomic demographic and I guess the geopolitical demographic. Like look at the type of student and family that you're working with. Like, are they an affluent family from from inner city Melbourne, Sydney, or are they a country kid that's just like, who happy for anything, you
Yeah.
know? And I think that's some of that personal care that you have to take in that process. The most important thing, man, is character though. Like just like a good positive character.
Yeah.
And you see that in the conversations that you have with him initially, and you certainly see that through the profiles that we create, you know, letters of recommendation, and you can, I mean, like we'll bring in all different types of students, right? Like from super intellectual to just your average Joe, we got to be a bit more careful with the students who aren't as, I guess, strong academically, because they're the ones that are more at risk, you know, of not passing. But if their character is really good, then that's gonna drag them along through the academic side. But I think, you know, the difference in the U.S., it's crazy to me looking at the high school system here in Australia and like how rigorous it is and how stressful it is for high school kids, and like how like they are just drilled in the academics. Because like I remember high school in the States, man. It was like you could choose to have that kind of route, or you could choose to have like just this casual route. And I was like, I'm gonna have the casual route. I'll do what I need to pass so that I can play sport, and that's about all I really care about.
I'm gonna go play sport, coach, and then recruit.
Well, like, but then at the college level, it's different, because then, you know, they ask you, well, what do you want to study? And it's like, oh yeah, well it's an interesting concept. It's not like here where, you know, you break your back to get, you know, one, choose what you want to study as a 15-year-old. Yeah. Right. At uni, because for me, it didn't even make sense till I was like 22. Yeah. Right. Yeah. But making kids choose what they want to study, and essentially elective coursework in year 11 and 12 that then lead to an ATAR score that if they get, then they can study what they want. But if they don't hit it, well, then they have to do something that they may not particularly want to do. And it's just
after
like
you force them to pick something they wanted to do when they were 15.
It's mind blowing, right? Because I'll ask you guys, like, do you have to get educated after high school? No. It's a conscious choice that you make.
100%.
Right. So the fact that we live in a free country here in Australia, right? And like, I mean, compared to the US, like if you're choosing to study after high school, well, then you're the one that can choose how you want to spend your time, energy, effort, and money, even if it's hard. Even if, like me, you had average grades in high school, but you do a, you know, pre-medical based degree, but if like that's what you're interested in and that's how you want to spend your time, well, then you got a far better chance of being successful than you know otherwise. So that's one thing about the U.S. You know, students get to choose whatever they want to study, irrespective of their grades or their prerequisites or any of that. But then just that sporting culture, right? Like, you know, you live in this student athlete bubble, and you know, you train before class, and then you have 3-4 hours of classes a day, and then you train after class, and you're constantly with your team, right? And where university is very different here in Australia is that like very few people live on campus, right? Like you go to and from uni, and then you have a social life that you go to and from, and like everything's separate. And if you play sport, then that's separate, and everything's all separate, right? Whereas over there, it's everyone's being held to the same expectation. You know, everyone's doing the same thing. They may be studying different things, but like the environment it's like a pack mentality.
It's one environment there. 100%.
And I think
Canada's very similar too. Like, it's all, everyone's moving in the same direction generally. Like,
well, you're there and you're doing the same thing, but you're on the same schedule. Like your coaches are telling you the same thing. If you don't pass your classes, you're not going to play, right? Like, say you drop the ball and you fail classes and then you're ineligible. Well, then you let your teammates down, and like so there's just so much. I feel like it's such a great way to go about an education, because it's like it makes getting an education way easier than having to find that like intrinsic motivation to go to class every day and go to school for the sake of going to school. Like, absolutely, I go to school because that's what everybody's doing.
Exactly.
You know,
exactly.
like,
and I want to play. I want to play my sport.
That's it. You know, I want to keep training. I want to keep playing. I want to keep doing all that. And like, and that's the most astounding statistic of I think all, is that like 86% of college athletes graduate. Yeah. Right. Whereas if you look at just a general student graduation rate, whether that be in Australia or that be here in Australia, or in the US or here in Australia or any other country, I was around like 55%. Yeah. Right. So that there's a much higher percentage of college athletes graduating with degrees. Some are moving on to professional sport, but you know, 99% of them are coming away with what felt like a professional sporting experience in college, but having a degree and and just all that personal growth, I think that sets them up for life.
Also, just the discipline and structure
Yeah.
just sets them up professionally.
Well, that's why the military works.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
Right.
100%.
Yeah. And it's just, I oftentimes say it, like being a college athlete is probably one of the most structured things outside of the military, right?
Yeah.
because you got a 5:30 a.m. training session that everyone's expected to be there for.
You got to
right?
be up at 5. You got to be
That's
there.
it.
Then you got class. Then you're back there.
Early is on time, right?
Yeah.
And then you go from there to your meals and then off to your classes and make sure that you get your homework done and then back to training again and team meetings in the evening. And I mean, it's a big time commitment, but it's like, it's a labor of love, like it's just so much fun. I would do it a million times over if I could.
That's
right?
amazing. With what you do, placing student athletes, it's not employees. There's eligibility, there's visas going overseas, there's all these things. Has there been some major legal hurdles that you've constantly had to overcome, or one situation that really stands out to you? How have you navigated that through your career, through these placement process?
Well, look, I mean, the good thing about Australia is that and New Zealand and I guess most countries is that they're on the visa waiver program with the U.S., right?
Yeah.
Which means that if you want to go there for a holiday, you just apply for an ESTA and as your travel authorization, you get 90 days right? And the the student visa process isn't too different to that, right? Like the most, you go for a visa interview to get an F1 student visa, but the process of doing so is more so, it's not like a grill you type interview. It's let's check your paperwork. You're coming from a visa waiver country. Yeah, all's good. Your fees are paid. Yeah, cool. You're in. Right. So it's pretty smooth. But like done a bunch of work with students in South Africa, from India, countries that aren't a part of that visa waiver program, and that's where we found, like your visa gets knocked back under 214B, which is you haven't established strong enough ties to your home country for us to then feel confident that if we give you a temporary migrant visa that
You're going to go back.
You're going to go back.
Exactly.
Right.
Right.
So we've dealt with some of that and kind of had to work through some of those issues and just advise students what type of documentation that they need to provide through that process.
Do you work with like lawyers, migration lawyers, things like that outside of that? If
we
requires
need
it?
If we need to, we've had some students who have gotten made some poor choices over in the States, and that's like we had one of a past student that got a DWI and got her visa revoked, and so she had to come back, and then we had to work through that process and get her another one, and it, again, I guess it was more so pointing him in the right direction as far as who to talk to, because that's not my.
Go talk to this person. But you're a connector in that respect
absolutely,
as well, right?
Absolutely. Look, I think honestly, and I'm not even ashamed to say it, the biggest legal hurdle that I've ever had to overcome was in the last 2 years. My old boss came after us, right? Tried to derail us, and
really,
for passing off. Right, which is why I was very careful in terms of how I talk about previous athletes, and they were not Green Room Futures athletes. They were of the previous company, but the way I looked at it at the time is like, I was the one that had the relationship with all the students and families. Like there are very few people that were a part of that company that even know who he is, because it was more like, talk through the interview process, get the money, and then you're with Matt now, right? So then when he picked that company up in 2019 and pretty much moved it out of Australia and reestablished it in South Africa, there were about 80 kids and families here in Australia that he was happy to just let go without anything.
Right.
And just my personal belief and my personal character around that, I didn't ask for a dime from anybody.
Yeah.
I just did the right thing, made sure that all those kids ended up with placements. They had all the support that they like the relationship that we had continued, and as a result of that, they gave us permission to share their story, and we thought, okay, well, we've got permission, so that's good. But
sure,
in accordance to the law, it's a bit of a gray area.
Yeah, you got to look where your contract says what's happened.
Well,
in the past,
but it's just again being careful to not label students as Green Room Future
Green
students
Room
if they're
Future
not
students.
actual Green Room Future
Right.
students. A handful of those students, I said, I'm no longer working there, and I've started Green Room Futures, and they've said, well, we want you to represent us, and so they've paid us, and they've come across, and there's no exclusivity in any of those contracts. At the end of the day, families and students are consumers.
Yeah.
You could employ 3 different agencies and just hedge your bets. As far as that's concerned. So there's no unless one of the other companies puts exclusivity
exclusivity clauses
in their
those
contract.
things.
But
is that something you guys consider at
no,
Green Futures?
never.
No, because if
There's
it's
no
about
conflict
helping
of
the
interest.
athlete,
Yeah,
exactly.
absolutely.
Then
There's
it's
no
like if you
conflict.
can go get this somewhere else for better, then go do it.
Absolutely.
Right? Yeah.
But like at the end of the day, if a student is working with another company and then they're also with us, well, then we still have our job that we have to execute and the opportunities that we've got to facilitate. And as long as we do that and provide them with options, and if they get more options through another company, well, then those kids have a really good first world problem. They've got some choices.
Yeah.
And then irrespective of whether they choose one of the options that we've facilitated or through something else, like you still have our support through all the administrative side and the visa side and all of that, which that's where there's a lot lacking in a lot of other companies is that it's like, oh, yep, you got the opportunity. Yep, you're in touch with the coach. Good luck.
Yeah.
Right. They've done their job. Whereas I don't care if a student comes to me with an opportunity that came through a different avenue, like part of our service and support that you've paid
can I
for.
help you?
Yeah,
How
we're
can- yeah.
going to make sure that you get there. So yeah, there's no conflict of interest whatsoever in any
That's
of that.
amazing. That's really amazing, honestly. I think that like really adds to the personal touch of what your company does specifically.
Yeah.
And I think like student athletes, amateur sports, there's been a massive gray area for a long time with respect to a lot of like legal avenues, and a lot of athletes don't have much power. So to have somebody like you on their side, and then amateur athletes to have lawyers on their side, telling them, okay, this is what can happen to you. This is where you can go from here.
Yeah.
It's really important.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. Which is why it was good to come, like meeting Donald through my father-in-law actually, who's in the same building.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah, Donald was mentioning that. So,
yeah. And then the podcast coming up. I think it's good, and especially like, again, you guys have kind of a broad focus in different areas of law, but sports law being one of those.
Well, that's what we're trying to develop, and we're going to take notes from guys like you and companies like you and work alongside you to cover the aspect of these student athletes, these amateur professionals' lives, that the legal side of things, right?
Yeah.
In the same way that you do it for them on the student athlete side.
Yeah,
of things.
man.
Like
Well, I think again, you look at, like I said, it's not every athlete, but there's some incredibly talented kids that go over to the U.S. and then look for professional opportunities afterwards, right?
Yeah.
And having legal support and just looking at contracts, making sure that everything is as it says that it is, and I think that's super valuable. So
100%. Well, speaking of that, actually, I wanted to pose a scenario to you. So I don't know how much work you guys do at Green Room Futures for athletes on the ground within Australia, looking for, let's say, like amateur opportunities, professional opportunities, paid opportunities. But like, say we have a client comes into us, they're having some legal trouble. They've come over here from the States. Their agent drops them when they get here, right? Now they have nobody looking for their athletic connections to things. So not finding them a opportunity to be paid to play, housing, things like that.
Yeah.
Is that something somebody like that, say they come into our office, we say, okay, we have the legal side of things covered. How can we connect you with somebody like Matt Wade who can put you in a place around here to find those opportunities? Is that something you guys do as well?
Look, like there, yeah. Short answer, yes. Just because it's, like we, where we get our student athletes from, right? Like that, we're connected with clubs, associations, state federations. Like 2 of our big partnerships are with Football Queensland, which is probably one of the biggest and most influential soccer federations in the country. Northern New South Wales Football is another, and we're in conversations with a few other states just to kind of replicate those partnerships. But yeah, like. What do they say? Like your network is your net worth,
Right.
right?
And
And this whole job, whether it be placing an Australian student into the U.S. Or helping U.S. students that finish school that want to come out and play here, get into MPL clubs or NBL1 clubs, or things like that. So I guess our biggest specialty is, from anywhere international into the U.S.
Of course.
But absolutely through the contacts and people that we've got that we work with all around Australia. We got a couple. One of the kids that I sent over, he reached out to me and said, "Hey, I've got a friend from Japan who played at Cal State Northridge for soccer. He wants to come out to Australia and play. Can you help him out?" And I said, "Yeah. Like, where does he? Is he too fussed about where he goes? Like, does he want to be anywhere particular?" He said, "No, he just wants to have a good opportunity and hopefully make a bit of money, playing in the NPL." And so, my business partner and my best mate lives in Newcastle. Again, we work with Northern New South Wales Football, and so, yeah, we found him a club up there, so it helped him through, kind of like my process, like get a work and holiday visa, do that first, get over here, and then
we'll figure it out.
Yeah, that's it. Because it was always like, well, what team can I get into and this and that, and I said, bro, the same way as when I contacted a guy asking for a job, like nobody's going to take you seriously until you're here. Yeah, right? Exactly. Like this is like the furthest place from anywhere.
Yeah, 100%. Hey, I'm still in the States. Do you have an opportunity for me over there?
But can you get me, like, I want to know that I've got a guaranteed position at a club over there. I'm like, that's like a kid coming to me and being like, I want a guaranteed position at the University of Texas.
Yeah,
and I'm like,
right. Put me in North Carolina tomorrow.
Yeah. Well, and that was the thing, is like, you know what? Here's the visa process. This is exactly what you need to do. Get this taken care of. Get your work and holiday visa. Get to Australia. Let me know the date that you're going to get here, and then we'll organize some training sessions and with some different clubs. My business partner, he's got a house with empty rooms, so he had a place, and it worked out for him to go to Newcastle and play for a club there. And now that he's done that, and he's done actually really, really well. Look to step into a team on the Gold Coast probably next year, right?
Yeah.
And stay longer and keep playing. So, absolutely.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That is awesome. Yeah.
So I am aware that there's a class action claim against the NCAA regarding Australian kickers.
Correct.
So I'm not sure too much about the details of that. I think generally it's just that like Australian young adults in their early 20s are kind of acing out, I guess, 18-year-old recruits from the U.S. That's the argument.
Yeah.
So do you feel that, I guess with that in mind, the pathway to the U.S. for young Australians will become more accessible or more competitive in that sense?
Look, like, the U.S. system, especially at that elite Division I level, like, it's cutthroat, man. Yeah. It's like, okay, well, all you 18-year-olds in the U.S. that want to be kickers, like, get better.
Right, exactly.
Right? Absolutely. Yeah. It's like, okay, well, this kid's eligible, right? And he's 6'6" and can punt a ball 70 meters. Like, like you're 6'3" and can punt a ball 45. Like,
right?
I'm gonna when it comes to elite Division I sport, like that coach's job is dependent upon results.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And it's no different to
same reason they're not coming here and recruiting the quarterback for their
absolutely.
You know what I mean?
They're getting a specialist position that can go over there, and like what makes an Australian punter so valuable. One is like, they don't just hit a torp, like hit a spiral punt. Like they hit it end over end. They can roll out and hit it. They can hit it to a spot. They can make it spin back. They can roll to the left and hit it opposite foot based on AF. There's. And then give that kid the chance to like tuck and run, and he's gonna freaking smash somebody, right? Like, so it's just a different kind of athlete. And look, I understand it, but yeah, like, I mean, you just at that level, you just got to be that kind of good. The other part of that lawsuit is that a lot of those opportunities were given to kids who are actually ineligible.
Yeah.
Right. And I won't say the name of the company that's under fire, but falsifying academic records to show that people are eligible when they're actually, in fact, not. I've wondered for a long time, like how are these kids at 26, 27 years old getting in with 4 years of eligibility, coming out of pro clubs, like AFL clubs here, into U.S. schools, and that's they're eligible.
Yeah.
And like I said, where there's smoke, there's fire, man. And that's been come into question. But so there's that aspect of it that is wrong.
Yeah.
And if that sort of stuff is being done that's stripping, U.S. kids of opportunity, then that's one thing. But if you got a kid that 6'5" and can pump a ball and he's done all the right things academically, he's of age, he's eligible, and he's better than you.
Yeah.
Welcome to sport, man. That's life.
That's the reality of
that's
it.
life.
That's just how it goes.
That's
the better
life.
candidate, you know?
That's absolutely, man.
Because I remember a few years ago when Vermont won the NCAA men's D1 soccer tournament. And pretty rare because historically they're not a dominant program or anything. Yeah. But then you look at their roster and they're all like 23, 24-year-old German kids.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, okay, this is a bit different.
Grad students.
It's a bit different from the 18, 19-year-old recruits.
So, and that's where recruitment has changed so much, man. One, the NCAA transfer portal, right? Like there's no penalty for transferring between schools anymore. Whereas back in the day, it used to be if you wanted to transfer schools, you can, but you have to sit a year in residence at your new school before you can actually participate. Yeah. Right? Which means that, okay, you can transfer, but you don't get to play straight away. You have to be there for a year before you can play. Yeah. And with the introduction of the NCAA transfer portal, well then, there's no penalty. So if you got kids that go to 3 and 4 schools over a 4-year period, bounce from one to another, and they can play straight away. If the rules allow it, well then a coach is going to use those rules to his advantage, right? So you've got, the guys that have that old school mentality. Oh yeah, we want to bring in 19-year-olds and we want to, develop them and have this homegrown product. And then you got other guys who are like, I want to win some freaking championships. Man. Right. What I want to do is, and the kids that are the most dominant in college are those junior and senior athletes or kids that may have eligibility into a 5th year. Yeah. So the graduate students, you can keep a scholarship into grad school as long as you still have eligibility. So let's look at the NCAA transfer portal and let's look at all these 23-year-old grad transfers that have 1 year of eligibility. And then let's just spend all of our money on those, change our team overnight, and then go and compete for championships, and then do it again next year because the rules allow us to.
And there's a big difference physically between a 19-year-old and a 25-year-old.
Absolutely.
100%.
Well, and then the hard part is trying to explain that to a kid from here that's got just these big eyes and green as anything, right? They're playing at a really good level here and they want to go play Division I soccer, and I'm like, I'm sorry, dude, you don't even know what that means yet.
Yeah, exactly.
I think the perception is okay, well, I play NPL here, and that's just under the A League, so I'm probably good enough to go and play for Division I school, and it's not that can't be true in some instances. If you say you're 17 and you're playing for a U18 NPL team, that just means that you're playing within your age group and you paid more to play. Yeah, exactly. Right? If you're 17 years old and you're playing for an NPL senior team, well then that means that you're playing out of your age group. You're playing with grown men, and you've got a skill set that's different to just somebody that's in the NPL, right? Yeah. So you got to look at those things, but the reality is getting identified by a school is one thing. Getting scholarship by a school is something that's completely different. Right. So you may be a first year international coming over and you've got some great skill and a Division I coach likes you, but they're $45,000 a year. They're happy to give you $15,000 in scholarship, and that's going to leave $30,000 out of pocket for you. Well, unless you got that kind of budget, then that's not a realistic option. No. So more than ever, and then the NCAA is just it's happening with really all sports, but soccer. Speaking about soccer specifically, they implemented a rule going into the 2025 season. Yeah. I was like, what year is it?
Going into this season.
This fall, that all NCAA Division I rosters are capped at 28 athletes. There used to not be a roster cap. There was just a scholarship cap. You could only have 12 or 14 scholars. I can't remember the exact number, but you could have 40 guys in the program or girls.
15 red shirts.
But you could only offer 12 scholarships. Well, now it's okay, well then there's no scholarship cap, but there's a roster cap. You can only have 28 athletes, and if you wanted to, you could scholarship every single athlete. Yeah. well, the thinking is like, oh yeah, we're opening up more opportunities for scholarship. But then, the NCAA can set the rule, but then it's still up to the school how much they want to fund that athletic program. So what you're seeing is like nothing's changed in terms of how many scholarships are available.
Yeah.
And what schools are funding. Yeah.
Exactly. And with the funding and transfer portal and everything in mind, on top of all this, I mean, we have to talk about another massive recent change that impacts all that, which is the name, image, and likeness.
Yeah, absolutely.
And for those of you that don't know out there, I'll just summarize the case a little bit, but there's been a recent historical settlement that's ended a massive legal fight between the House and the NCAA. The case about the NCAA's restrictions on how athletes can profit from their name, image, and likeness. So for decades, these athletes were classified as amateurs, as you know, meaning they couldn't earn money beyond scholarships. In recent years, multiple lawsuits and public pressure especially has forced the NCAA's hand to change quite a bit. It's led to a $2.8 billion payout for athletes who missed out on potential NIL money before 2021, which is when the NCAA first allowed students to sign NIL deals, which was outside the bounds of the school. I mean, you could have anybody walking up to an athlete saying, here's $10,000, come play for my school. Here's this, which happened before under the table bags of cash. But it was happening.
Alumni donation.
Exactly, alumni donations.
Have you ever seen the old movie, The Program?
Yeah.
Exactly. Slide the envelope in the pocket of the jacket.
Which is what's funny about this is now that has legal uncertainties in itself. But what's funny about this is now that it's all in the light of day, it's going to come with a ton of legal management and uncertainties that come from that, because the NCAA doesn't want to go so far as to start to classify student athletes as employees. That's not something that student athletes should want, I think, either. And beyond that,
it takes away from what collegiate sport's all about.
Is what it's about. Yeah. Exactly. With this change and this massive, I mean, this is a huge historical moment for the NCAA. How do you think that's going to affect international athletes who want to maybe monetize their brand? And have you seen any Australian students benefit from NIL opportunities since? Because I think Green Room Futures, you said, it's been about 4 years. I mean, around the time you guys started up is when the NCAA started to move into this NIL era, right?
Yeah. So we've had a couple athletes who do some social media stuff and make a bit of money that way, like just being influencers and all that, which is cool. Like, look, when it comes to big NIL money, right? You're talking like the Travis Hunters of the world, right? Like, Deion Sanders kids, you're talking about like the cream of the crop that are going to go and play in the NFL and NBA and those sort of things that are making like ridiculous money.
Yeah.
Right. But what that NIL has done is like, instead of, choosing a school because it feels right and the culture's right, kids are at that level are choosing schools based on who's going to pay me more.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. Exactly.
And then if it doesn't go well, then jumping into the transfer portal and going and finding the next deal. Right. Yeah. And that's what I don't like about it.
Yeah.
I'm all for, like when you look at, the old NCAA football video games. Yeah. Right. Well, far out. Just look at NCAA football on TV. Yeah. Right. Like it is a multi-billion-dollar industry.
100%.
Right. And like all these, I guess higher ups and everything are lining their pockets with millions upon millions upon millions of dollars, and those like at the benefit of the athlete. Yeah. Right. And they're the ones that are putting it in. And again, it's still 99% of those kids don't go into a professional career. So. Right. They're putting their bodies on the line, and especially with football, like, having brain trauma and sort of issues there, and then not having any kind of compensation, leaving that to then take that into living a normal life. So like I'm all for it. I guess for our kids, we've had a couple goalkeepers who have worked with a glove company, and again, it's like it's a bit of money here and there, and then we had a kid that I sent over. He had like 1.5 million TikTok followers. Yep. Right. And he went to a post-grad prep for basketball. Yep. But getting over in the US just opened up a new market for influencing, and then like, the school
having the school
part of the scholarship. And this is where like prep is that it's like a year 13 almost, right? It's like it's like that stepping stone pre-college. Right. And they're a bit Wild West as well as far as like what's legal and what's not. And
absolutely.
So some of like a lot of them offer scholarship, but in this kid's situation, it was like, okay, well, in like part of your scholarship is like collabing. We need to do like 2 posts a week collabing with our brand with all of your followers, right? So that they're getting value and they're building that base. So yeah, there's a lot of cool things that have come from it.
Yeah.
It's not all of our kids, but yeah, a few of them have.
Of course, yeah. I mean, it won't be all kids either in the States.
Like we got a kid going over for golf this year to Iowa State. He's a Callaway next gen.
Yeah.
And he'll be able to keep that sort of sponsorship.
Okay, cool.
There's a kid over there that is a Titleist athlete.
Right.
So we got some gun golfers.
Yeah.
Who will be able to make money.
Yeah.
Through sponsorship and stuff like that, as long as they continue those relationships.
Is it straightforward from the schools to you when it comes to what the students are going to be allowed to do when they get over there, things like that you tell them, or is that something that you need to pursue yourself? Because I think there's something like they're going to share, I think it's around 22% of the revenue, but each school gets to decide now how they want to spend their NIL, that money on their athletes across all the programs. And you cover a variety of sports. So like somebody who's going into college surfing, whatever there is, if that's an opportunity, is not going to have the same NIL opportunity as a football player or a basketball player, right? That's just how it is at these schools, right? So is it straightforward for you, that process? Is it like a checkbox? Are they going to tell you, oh, he's going to be able to do this and not do this? Or is this something you need to pursue? It's
going to come down to the individual, right? Like with a kid, like I just mentioned, that's going to a Big 12 school for golf, right? Like that'll be a conversation that the athletic department will have with him once he arrives, what he can do and how that can work. And that, so it's, for us, it's just, I guess, making students aware of their rights, and what they could use NIL for.
Yeah.
But again, it has to be like just for your average kid. There's not going to be any NIL stuff.
Yeah, not much to worry about. How many legal safeguards you need to put in place?
It's just those 1%ers. Yeah. Right? And we do have a few of those. We got a girl headed off to University of Hawaii on a full scholarship for track and field.
Amazing.
Another girl headed off to a number 2 junior college in the country for track and field, full scholarships. And again, like they, in that, like track and field doesn't have the money that basketball and baseball and football does.
For sure.
But it can potentially some avenues there to work with like if the school uses a particular company for all of their shoes and track spikes and that sort of stuff, like, and they're putting up results, then that's something that once they get there, like that may be something that they
it blossoms when they get there, right?
Yeah,
exactly.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
It's like, the U.S. is very much like talk is cheap. Okay, yeah, you're good. You're good in Australia, but let's see how good you actually are.
Yeah, get over here. Let's see, and then we'll see.
And then we'll talk in IL.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
No, that's really good. That's really good. I think we're running out of time here, so maybe if we'll wrap up with just one last thing. Is there some sort of legal safeguard advice you offer to students when it comes to eligibility, scholarships, NIL before they head over? And then when you finish that, why don't you tell everybody how any students here in Australia, families, whatever, can access your services at Green Room Futures?
Love a good plug.
Yeah, 100%.
Right. Appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Appreciate
You kidding?
Look, from a legal safeguard side of things, before our students head off, we'll have kind of a departure, like webinar, right? And just, like tell them how excited we are for them, and then just like, have an unbelievable time. Keep your head on straight. Again, looking at the political scene, like, stay out of it.
Yeah.
Right. Just stay in your lane. Like go to class. Like do your things. Don't bring trouble your way.
Yeah.
And you won't have anything to worry about. Like from a legality standpoint, again, if we've got a kid that's able to get some NIL stuff, then we'll have kind of those conversations privately. But again, I guess that for us, it kind of crosses that threshold and like our specialty. Our specialty is just around finding the right kind of college opportunities for every single kind of student athlete that's out there. And then certainly if we've got particular kids or somebody that wants some additional advice or support around any kind of legality stuff, we can handle the visa side of things from a generic standpoint, but if they want to bring a spouse or they want to, do some of that stuff. Like there are things that are out of our wheelhouse that we will always. Okay, well, before you just assume that you can do that, like I would speak to this person or contact Betts Law.
Contact Betts Law Company for your legal services. There you go.
For any and all legal services.
Love a good plug.
That's it. But yeah, I think rounding them up right before they all go and just encouraging them, but just reminding them like you're in a new place. You're in a foreign place. You're new to everything. Yeah. Right? Don't put yourselves in dumb situations. have a great time. Yeah. But just
that's best piece of legal advice too. Don't put yourself in dumb situations.
That's it. Don't put. And look with my legal stuff, I didn't even think I was putting myself in that. But then you find out that you can't do that.
That's why you need experts, people with connections.
Absolutely. But I think it's. I mean, the good thing for us is it's all pretty straightforward, and it's kids that are just excited, right, to get out into the world and experience like what life has to offer. And the U.S. college system is it's a game changer. And like whether you go for 6 months, whether you go for a year, 2 years, 4 years, you stay, it's life changing. Yeah. So that's why I encourage like so many kids get carried away and oh God, like I just don't know if I'm ready. Like 4 years of my life that far away, and it's like no, pump the brakes, man. Yeah. Like you got to make it 6 months before you make it 1 year.
Yeah, right.
And you got to make it 1 year before you make it 2.
Yeah.
And there's no contractual obligation. There's no thing that says that you have to stay any longer than what you want to. Like you're there at your own free will. And so you got nothing to lose and you got everything to gain.
Yeah.
So for us, we'd love to talk with anybody that may have an interest in learning more about the U.S. You can certainly always find us on our website, www.grfutures.com. Best resource that you've got is social media, right? Our social media is on fire. Shout out to Yanni, our social media girl, because she's been with us for about 3 months now and has transformed our social media. She's a Photoshop whiz. Yeah. So everything just looks better in the content that we're putting out. That's where you see the stories and the social proof. Like it's not. I can sit here and tell you all about it until I'm blue in the face, but seeing some of the interviews and seeing the things of the students on the social media, that's great. But I encourage you get to our website, book a time for a call. No cost, no obligation for consultation, just to talk through the recruiting process, and it could be the most valuable 45-minute conversation that you've had to date.
Absolutely. And if you need legal advice, come to Betts Law Company.
That's it.
And if we can set you up with Matt Wade at Green Room Futures, we will. Anything else from you, Ian?
No, just hit us up if you have any legal questions regarding these topics, and hit up Matt if you want to go play college sports in the U.S.
Heck yeah.
We think what you do is amazing, man. So thank you for coming on.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So for Ian, Matt Wade, resin behind the camera, I'm Bruno. See you guys on the next episode of Full Court Press.